welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I am joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, it is nearly free agency week. We are less than a week away from the start of free agency, or at least, I guess, less than a week away from the official or unofficial start of the legal tampering period. The NFL offseason is already in full swing. We had the Jermaine Johnson trade that we got to talk about last week in our emergency stream, I believe on Thursday that was. We have some Breece Hall news to talk about. We have a lot of Jets quarterback news, ranging from Kyler Murray to Jacoby Brissett to Tua Tagovailoa. There's a lot of names getting thrown out there. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about any other free agent targets. We discussed this briefly before the show, that they could sign so many different players at so many different positions because they have
they need so much and they have so much cap space. There's really no bad. This is a no bad ideas stream
for sure. But before any of that, Mike, how you doing, buddy? What's going on?
Well, first I need to come clean. Apparently, sometimes I start the show with this, just the two fingers. I have since learned, according to an English viewer, that this is the equivalent of the middle finger in England. So I will probably not do that.
This or this? Which one?
Two, but turn that way is.
Oh, like that?
Yeah. We just flipped off our English audience.
All right.
All right, so now
it feels like an urban myth. I don't believe that.
Why would I be told that though? That's very specific.
Someone's messing with you? I don't know.
But why in that way?
I don't know.
So
the ring finger. This is my ring finger. The ring finger is.
That's even worse, Justin.
That's the middle finger in Thailand, Mike. Come on, why didn't you know that?
Well, I think like in Italy too. I know like this was bad. I know that's like evil eye stuff is. That's why Ronnie James Dio started doing that. So
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Ronnie James Dio is.
Who's Ronnie James Dio?
He was in Black Sabbath after Ozzy, and he was by himself.
All right.
Sorry,
I don't know the members of Black Sabbath. I know Ozzy Osbourne. R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne.
You for sure heard his voice.
Probably. I know Black Sabbath songs.
As much as I would love to make this a stream about Ronnie James Dio, we do not have the time nor the bandwidth. So let's just get into free agency. Thank you for tuning in. You know where to find us: Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there and on YouTube. So if you want to support the show, you can like the stream. You can subscribe. Both of those things help. We keep ticking up there. We're close to 1,500 subs. Our goals are higher than that, but we're going to keep getting there ever so slightly. And if you want to get on the train now, let's get on and then come on, ride the train, choo choo, as the Quad City DJs would say.
Dude, there was a Ozzy Osbourne reference there. You could have Crazy Train.
I am a big Ozzy Osbourne fan. Crazy Train is one of my least favorite Ozzy.
All right, well, we were on the topic of Black Sabbath and Ozzy. You could have made the reference.
I could have, yeah. We want to stay on the rails, not go off the rails.
I would have got that one instead of the Ronnie James Dio.
That was Ozzy by himself, by the way, not Black Sabbath. But
I actually did that. I actually knew that. I did know that
because that was after Sharon kicked him out, and then later he came back in. But yes,
R.I.P.
So Black Sabbath talk with Mike and Justin. Let's get to a bit of news that dropped on Monday. A little bit of a recap because we had a whole show discussing this. So we don't want to keep rehashing too much of it. But Breece Hall has been franchise tagged, not transition tag like we thought. Franchise tag, straight up franchise tag, which makes him the fourth highest paid running back in the league next year. I'd imagine that number might come down because Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, both of them are going to be angling for new contracts. I don't know if they pay him this year, but they might. But either way, Breece Hall is getting paid like one of the best running backs in the league.
Yep.
Essentially what Darren Muji did, if you saw our other stream when they traded Jermaine Johnson for T'Vondre Sweat, is not only did he acquire Sweat for Johnson, but he got, I think, $13 million or maybe a little more in cap savings by trading Johnson away. With that money, he basically used it to franchise tag Breece Hall. So essentially, the trade was Jermaine Johnson for T'Vondre Sweat and the peace of mind to absolutely lock in and say Breece Hall's our guy. As Chris has now been a member for 4 months. Happy 4-month anniversary to Chris D over here.
Much appreciated, Fred. Hell yeah.
Getting into this was a move I don't want to say they had to make, because I don't think Breece Hall is going to be one of those integral members of a championship team. I don't even think he's here that much longer. I think he's here at least one more year. I don't know if there's any more than that. We'll see. But when you don't trade him, when the free agent market, it's pretty decent, but the skill position outside of running back is where it's really lacking. I think you had to bring him back. Because one thing I didn't want to do was on a team, as we mentioned beforehand, pretty much outside of offensive tackle, there's really no free agent or draft position we can go, well, I don't know about that. That's how thin this roster is. That's how much they need help pretty much everywhere. So what I don't want to do is then create another hole at running back. Pretty much any running back that they signed, really outside of Kenneth Walker, who would not go to the Jets unless they just paid him above what the market deems. No running back they signed would have been as good as Breece Hall. So you're downgrading at a position that Aaron Glenn has placed more emphasis on than a lot of his other coaches in the league and more than a lot of Jets coaches in the past. He wants to run the ball a lot. I know he hired Frank Reich. Jonathan Taylor almost had a 2,000-yard season under Frank Reich. He knows something about getting some good running games started. I don't like Breece's attitude all the time. But again, part of it, and I've really tried to look at this mope thing, because obviously things would improve if they're winning.
Sure.
Some guys are just mope poison, and it's never going to get fixed. Like, it's just, honestly, Jermaine was trending towards there. They got rid of him. Breece, maybe there's a chance, and I could look totally foolish for this, that this is just, look, I'm on a 3-14 team. How do you want me to act? And if they start winning games, you may get a better attitude, and you may get a guy who's probably in the top 10 in the league among running backs. That's not something on this talent-deprived Jets team you could just throw away and replace in the draft or whatever.
Yeah, it's valid. MFQ said Breece is the 4th highest paid running back in the league as of right now. Yeah, as we mentioned, it's behind, I believe, only Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and Derrick Henry. But as you mentioned, Mike, that number might come down if Jahmyr Gibbs gets paid, if Bijan Robinson gets paid. Who knows what Kenneth Walker gets paid? Probably not going to get over $14.5 million or whatever Breece is getting paid, but
14.2. So he's over Taylor, who's $14 million even.
Right. I don't think Kenneth Walker gets over $14.2 million a year, and the Seahawks did not use the franchise tag on him, but it'll be close.
The 6th highest paid is Alvin Kamara at 12.5, and then Josh Jacobs is 12. I could see Walker maybe getting something above that.
Yeah, definitely. But as you mentioned, Mike, the Jets couldn't let Breece Hall walk. Once they decided at the trade deadline that they weren't going to trade him, which I think if they got a third from Kansas City, they were gonna pull the trigger on that trade. They just were holding out for that third. Chiefs offered a 4, and they said no. We're gonna keep him. We'd rather trade him at a price that we deem is valuable, is worth it.
Now the Chiefs get no Breece Hall and no Trent McDuffie because now he's on the Rams.
That's right. What a wild trade that is. That makes that sauce trade look even better, man. Like what else
deal. Makes Darren Muji look better? Not just the sauce trade. Have you seen all the rumors for like Max Crosby and Quinnen Williams? It's 2 firsts and a player, 2 firsts and a player.
I think he
got such a good haul for Quinnen Williams. That's now like the template for what do you want to get for a star player? 2 firsts and a young player.
I forget who was the source of this report, but the report was that the Eagles for AJ Brown are looking for, and they literally said they're looking for a Quinnen Williams type trade. So they're literally using the Jets as framework. That's generally a good sign that the general manager worked out. Yeah, that they made a good trade there. But as for Breece,
it's literally outside of Fields, it's hard to poke holes in this guy so far. Fields was just such a colossal error.
Right. As for Breece, though, they couldn't let him walk. Once they decided they weren't going to trade him, they had to keep him, and I think Darren Muji understood that. I know the two sides have been working towards an extension, and I'm sure those conversations were had leading up to free agency. And I believe the Jets were wanting to use the transition tag as their fallback plan if they were not able to agree to a long-term deal with Breece, which they were not. And then I think the combine happened, and I think the Jets kind of had conversations with a lot of people around the league, and they quickly realized that Breece's value was probably a bit higher than they expected. His market was a bit more robust than they initially believed it would be. And other teams, if the Jets were to place that transition tag on him, other teams would have come calling with offer sheets. And I just don't think they wanted to mess around with that. They have enough cap space that, if some team was going to be able to offer Breece an offer sheet, I think the Jets want to just be able to control what they can control. They don't want to risk losing Breece, especially like you mentioned, on a talent-deprived team like this. So that's why they pivoted to the franchise tag. I think those conversations in Indy kind of shaped that. As for what this means for Breece Hall's future, I am still hesitant that he's on the roster in 2027. I've been saying that I'm hesitant that they reach a long-term deal. I'll amend that a little bit because I think there's a world where they do extend him some point this summer before the July 15th deadline, which is when he has to sign his tender buy. I think they could extend him, but I think it could be a situation like the Sauce Gardner deal where even if they extend him and they sign him to a long-term deal, it doesn't preclude them from trading him. They structure in a way that leaves that option open. Because I think, Mike, if the Jets are 1-7 going into the deadline again, Breece is gone. Not only is Breece gone, Aaron Glenn's gone. Decent chance Darren Muji might be gone as well. And at that point, Woody's coming in and saying, let's sell anybody we have, right? Let's sell Brandon Stevens. Let's sell Breece Hall. Anybody that we can get any value for that we know is probably not going to be here for the next regime. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I don't want to think that way, but It's absolutely within the realm of possibility. And I certainly don't get the sense that Breece Hall is happy in New York right now, especially if they're not winning games. The way to keep him
best,
happy,
he's neutral.
yeah, and I don't even think it's neutral. I think he's frustrated. I think he's fed up with losing. I think the Jets are going into this year and saying, all right, look, we really like Breece Hall as a player. Maybe they've honestly changed their stance in the last few months, because I think if they asked me a couple of months ago, I would have said, I'm not sure if they see him as a long-term fit. I do think they want to keep him long-term right now. And I think their hope is, maybe we can get a long-term deal done and we can keep him happy and convince him to stay by winning some games. I think that's kind of where they're at right now. And Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji know that if they're not winning games anyway, they're not going to be here regardless. So I think that's how the Jets are approaching this. On that note, Mr. Mule asked a question. It said, what running backs would you guys want to sign or draft as a potential Breece Hall replacement when he leaves after or during the next season? I don't know. I haven't looked at the running back class for next year.
It's not amazing.
It's a long ways away. Who's
DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard.
It's impossible to say.
And then the draft is even more volatile. Forget about it.
Yeah, it's impossible to say because I don't know.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor's a free agent, but
they should go get him.
It's impossible. I imagine Indy works something out with him.
Yeah, you'd assume, but it's impossible to say because I don't know what the staff's going to look like. Right? Like if Breece is gone next year, there's a decent chance that they had overhauled their coaching staff as well.
Ooh, Devon Achane. That'll be the plan.
Sure, but in that scenario, then I have no idea. That's neither here nor that's going to be in the future. I don't think it would be an Isaiah Davis, Braylon Allen tandem. I think both of those guys are complementary pieces. Could be solid complementary pieces, but you'd want a better replacement if Breece leaves. But I'm not sure.
So I think that we kind of milked all we can out of Breece. I want to go talk some quarterbacks.
I agree. We got a lot to get into, man.
Because we thought Breece would be back. It's just he's getting paid $3 million more a year than we thought. Woo, big deal.
Let's start it off. Let's start the quarterback topic off with a question here in chat from D Lippard 14. Said, are Jets interested in picking up Kyler Murray? I'll say this really quick before you go on your tangent. I think the Jets are interested in Kyler Murray. I think they're really sniffing around. Yeah, I think they're at least sniffing around. I wouldn't say Kyler Murray, if I'm guessing right now. I don't think Kyler Murray is is the Jets' top option. But I think they would be foolish not to be interested given the quarterback options that they have, the alternate quarterback options that they have. I think Kyler would much prefer to go to somewhere like Minnesota or even Atlanta. Probably
you should be interested in the Jets because right now the only two teams, the Raiders are taking Mendoza, they don't count. The only two teams where right now QB1 is wide open and you would sign with no competition, you'd be QB1, are the Jets in Miami once they get rid of Tua. Minnesota, you'd have to compete. Atlanta, who knows what they're doing with Penix.
Minnesota,
Steelers, we don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers.
Minnesota,
Browns even, they like Shadur seemingly. We don't know where they're at.
Here's the thing. Minnesota, you're competing, but you're competing with 9. So are you actually competing?
Well, they invested a lot in 9. Quincy and Tofo-Mensah got fired for 9.
I'm messing. I'm doing the NFL content creator thing to just rag on JJ McCarthy at all times. I know.
or what's that guy who posts this guy benched, this guy benched, this guy benched, quarterback problem. You know what I mean, right?
I know. Is that a TikTok thing?
No, it's like he was like a Justin Fields guy, but
oof.
He's always the big guy who's every time a quarterback sucks, he's like, this team got 9 other things wrong. And then
Sam Block.
Yeah, that guy.
The ESPN account that tweets like Dove Kleiman. Yes.
Exactly that one. Yeah.
Yes.
So I've mentioned this before with Kyler Murray. I don't want to come off like a pom-pom waiver here, but the Jets, this is the biggest beggars can't be choosers situation I've seen in quite some time. The Jets are literally begging hands for anybody to be their quarterback. There's really few awful options. So much makes sense. You really have nowhere to go but up collectively from how the room performed last year, which was for half the year, it was unwatchable.
Mike, we had Carson Wentz, Anthony Richardson, and Andy Dalton on our tier list last week.
And
that's what
Anthony Richardson wasn't even in the lowest tier possible.
No. Well, the lowest tier was their current quarterback group, Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields.
As I've said before, you can't look at Kyler Murray and then go, we don't want him. But then look at some of these guys, Davis Mills, who I like, but still, Tanner McKee,
yes,
Andy Dalton. I've seen people legitimately suggest and be like, or Kirk Cousins, who's 50 years old. That's our guy. You can't do both of that.
No.
Because now people love to bring up the questions, and there are questions with Kyler. I don't have the same questions with Kyler that a lot of Jets Twitter does. I'm wondering, is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to be able to play outdoors in the cold? Because he played in Arizona in a dome and he's from Texas and he's smaller. I worry about that a little bit. Is his style of play going to just degrade because so much of it is athleticism related? Once you get older and more hurt and you lose that, is the arm going to be good enough? That's what I'm concerned about. Instead, what Jets Twitter said, he's short. Yeah, he's short. Wow, what a great discovery you just made.
That didn't stop him.
He's managed it this far. He got 7 years out of it. I don't know.
He at his peak, we've talked about, was a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He was short then.
He took the Cardinals to the playoffs. That's like taking the Jets to the playoffs.
He's just as short as he was then. Like, that hasn't changed.
Exactly. Then on top, and then the big thing, he's not a hard worker. He's not a culture fit. Look, I'm sure where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm sure at some point he probably wasn't working as hard as some other guys were. I think he may have rubbed some guys the wrong way.
Yeah, for sure. He did.
That could have been years ago. He could have matured by then. That could have been like a Michael Thomas, Derek Carr thing where one guy just has it out for him and then is leaking things here or there. And again, the big thing, we are never, ever, 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 unless we hire PIs, going to get to the bottom of this and find out how true every little minute detail is of this. Half of this stuff could be totally made up. We will have no idea. So because of that, even if you include all that, all these questions, guess what? He's still the best option. You look at all these guys on the market that are realistic, and you say which guy is going to be the best quarterback, score the most touchdowns, win the most games, perform the best in adverse situations when need. It's him. It's him. And the fact that he could be had for the league minimum, which I think would make him more likely to come to the Jets than he was before, as Chew donates 5 memberships. Thank you, Chew.
What a guy. Chew, every week. We appreciate you, man. We really do.
So I think that might be more likely because one thing I kept hearing over and over again, and I thought was fair, was the big obstacle was the contract and trading for him. Well, now you don't have to trade for him, and you don't have the contract. So those are apparently 2 of your big issues. They're just gone. He's not my preferred guy. But to sit here and be like, man, it's Kyler Murray, it's a dumpster fire. You see how it counts. I'm not ready for Kyler Murray. That's what'll break you. That's what'll break you. Kyler Murray would be, if he had his last full healthy season, that's what, a top 7-8 season in Jets quarterback history.
Yeah,
that's where we're at quarterback wise. To look at that and be like, nah, I don't get it. And the other thing too, before you go off here, because there was one point I forgot to mention, but Don't Tell NB brought it up. Not Frank's style of quarterback. I don't know why people think Frank Reich wants 8-foot-tall statue pocket pass. Now, look,
I think it's a bit overrated.
He may prefer him, and I know Bryce Young didn't go well, but Frank Reich has been around football for a very long time. I'm sure he looks at Kyler Murray and Tanner McKee and says, I know which one I'd rather play with, Kyler Murray, because I have more experience, I have more athleticism, I have more accuracy. Just because he's tall doesn't mean he's just completely out of the running.
Really quick, I laughed because one of the people that got gifted a sub was named Aaron Glenn as a terrorist. So that was funny.
Oh, come on.
Sorry.
And also, Chew points out, too, Murray has never had an O-line this good. Yeah, that was a problem for years in Arizona, was the O-line.
Vinicius said the Kyler Murray discourse is crazy. I agree. I'm not sure if he's a top 16 quarterback anymore. He's probably not.
No, he's not. Probably like top 20 with the fringes of there.
He certainly hasn't been like the last year or so. Like I don't know if he can get back to that point where he is, but he hasn't been. As Vinicius said, but he is better than Malik Willis, Derek Carr, Mac Jones, Tanner McKee, Drew Aller. Yeah, back to your first point, Mike. You can't be shaking ass for Tanner McKee and saying outright no to Kyler Murray. That's ridiculous. Like that's just an absurd stance to have, especially because part of the red flags that we had discussed for the last couple of months about Kyler Murray was potential cost, right? You don't want to acquire that contract. Oh, you might have to give up assets to trade for him and that contract. That's a lot. Well, that's not going to happen now because Kyler Murray is getting released and he's going to sign for the vet min. And it is not, that's pretty much set in stone because any contract that he receives above the veteran minimum will be taken off of what Arizona's paying him. So there's no reason.
Arizona's guaranteeing him money. So he wants as much money from the Cardinals as possible.
So there is no reason not to sign for the vet minimum if you're Kyler Murray. So that part is out the window, right? So you're not going to have to give up assets. You're going to get a guy who I think is clearly the most talented quarterback in this bad quarterback market. Again, all of the red flags are valid. I'm even going to say like the culture fit, totally valid. And I think the reason that in my mind, the Jets don't have Kyler Murray as their top option is probably because of some of the red flags that people are talking about. Schematic fit. They're a little concerned about that. They're a little concerned about culture fit. They're concerned about some of the stuff you mentioned, where it's like, he's getting older, smaller frame. He has injury history. How's he going to play in the cold weather? All of these are red flags that are totally, completely valid, which is why there's no good quarterback option for the Jets this offseason. And I don't even want to waste too much time on Kyler Murray because it's not going to happen. I think they're interested, but I just don't think the interest is going to be mutual. And I think they're probably going to go in a different direction. But I think some of the discourse around Kyler has gotten just too ridiculous. In a league where we have seen Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones resurrect their careers in each of the last 2 seasons, I just think it's insane to say, no, Kyler Murray sucks and he can never be good again. I just think that's ridiculous. Like, and people will say it's a Justin Fields situation. Kyler Murray has shown 10 times more.
Not even close as passers.
Ever has in the NFL level. Like,
not even close.
Kyler Murray, again, 3 years ago was top 15 quarterback in the NFL. 2 years ago, you could argue that. Justin Fields,
the film Twitter guys, like the Steven Ruiz, they had him in like the 11-12 range.
Justin Fields has never been a top 20 quarterback in the NFL, maybe not even a top 25, even at his peak in Chicago, right? So that's not
that's a depressing statement. His peak in Chicago, living in his
peak in Chicago, that's kicking to the door after 3 years or whatever it was, the 3 years, yeah. So the Kyler discourse has gotten ridiculous to me. No, he's not a perfect player, but I do think he's probably the best option as far as for any team that is quarterback option this offseason. But Mike, I think the Jets are more likely to go in a different direction. And the name that I keep coming back to now, and I forget where we had him on our tier list last week. Is there something you want to add about Kyler before I do this?
Well, really, because we have a lot of really good comments.
All right, let's get to the Kyler comments, and then I'll transition.
So I want to go get to some comments here. A Chew, consistently average quarterback play would be an improvement over last year.
Yes.
And then we're going to go to the Lord is my strength. Very biblical username here.
Yeah.
You guys will be lucky if you get Kyler. No one wants to be there. The Jets have to pay the Jets tax on top of that. If they could say, look, Kyler, you don't have to compete with anybody. You're the man.
That's the selling point. If Kyler were to come to the Jets, it would be because he didn't want to go to Minnesota since he's not going to be able to start there, right? And I don't know. I genuinely don't know what Miami does. Kyler would make sense for them because they don't have cap space. And they have Quinn Ewers, who they're apparently really high on, and they're considering starting Quinn Ewers. I'll wait and see on that. I don't know if I believe that yet. Kyler would make sense to go there, and he could play in in much warmer weather. If Minnesota doesn't work out, I feel like Miami makes more sense than the Jets.
And then 2 more. Brian Glick, if culture fit wasn't an issue, he wouldn't be available. Oh, Stephon Diggs got released. So
interesting.
Ooh.
I mean, Jets aren't going to be on that, but
they shouldn't be on it.
You want to talk culture, guys?
You want a bad culture fit.
I don't think
there's your bad culture fit.
I don't think they're going after Diggs.
So they kind of go get him on work release.
I'm sure you've seen it. You remember Brian Robinson? That was his name. The Vikings, old Vikings defensive lineman.
Oh yeah, number 96. I remember.
Yeah. Do you remember when he would do the questions, like the locker room questions with the Vikings?
Oh, and it was like, who do you least want to date your sister?
Who would you least
Everybody immediately said Stephon Diggs.
Who would you least want to date your sister? Every single
person
said Stephon Diggs.
Even before he was like a big guy. Like
they asked Dalvin Cook about it. Dalvin was like, "Oh man, what a weird question." Then instantly he was like, Diggs.
Not even immediate.
It's Stephon Diggs. And then they asked Diggs about it. And Diggs was like, why is everyone saying me? I'm a great guy. I don't know, man. They're saying you for a reason. But
Brian says here, if culture fit was an issue, he wouldn't be available. Here's where I slightly disagree. Number 1, new regime coming in. They want their guy. And number 2, I think just with what they're paying, I think the contract was the big problem, is that they were tied in with this contract. So I think they just said, let's eat it now, get it over with.
He needs a change of scenery.
And he needs a change of scenery.
Toxic. It's toxic there in Arizona with him there. Both sides just need a fresh start for sure. But I agree that, if the attitude stuff wasn't an issue, he might have lasted longer in Arizona. I agree with that sentiment.
And then last one, Murray's attitude is trash. He'll never be more if he doesn't change. But how do you know that? That's the thing.
It's so funny when people
these definitive statements being made. Like, what's his attitude? The thing too is there are some guys that have quote unquote bad attitude. Like Breece Hall has shown more signs of having a bad attitude than Kyler Murray. Passive aggressiveness and tweets and weird things that's the problem. Is there's so little concrete evidence of him having this bad attitude, but everybody swears he does. But we never see it.
To play devil's advocate to what you just said, I think it matters a lot more since he's a quarterback and a running back. And look, there's when there's this much smoke, there's fire. it's more so work ethic. I think that's been questioned with him than attitude. Like, it's not like he's moping as much as it's how invested is he in what they're trying to do. I would like to think, and again, we don't know Kyler Murray personally. We don't. He said, I know Murray personally and his cousin. Well, I don't know, man. I can't speak to that, but I would like to say this, or I'll say this. I would like to think that Kyler Murray knows right now that his career is at a crossroads, that he's, I don't think he's going to be the same person that he was in Arizona 3 years ago with his new team this year. I don't think he can be that person. And again, it's not like I feel like some of the conversation around him has completely lost the plot, where we're talking about this guy like he's this cancer, where he's this criminal who should be in prison. Like, he had attitude issues. He had work ethic issues, right? Maybe some guys mature. I get that it's a quarterback, and I get there's more reasons to be concerned about it. And I'm not even saying that they're not red flags, because they are. And I think that's part of the reason the Jets wouldn't be super into getting him as their quarterback. But I just think we've jumped the shark with some of the Kyler Murray discourse. We've gone too far.
So the Lord is my strength. This last one for sure. Cardinals fan here, actually. Kyler has definitely changed a lot and matured, but he was consistent.
He was, but consistent. Yeah,
he changed a lot, but he was consistent. How does that?
He might have said inconsistent, might have meant, but either way. Yeah. Honestly, we've exhausted the Kyler talk. It's not going to happen. So
I hope it does.
I'd be happy if it happened, but it's a volatile swing. Like, just like with Justin Fields last year, even though we're sitting here standing, we're becoming Kyler Murray stands apparently, which far from Kyler probably isn't even my preferred option. Like, maybe he would be. Just, I think there's more red flags with him than the couple other options, including a guy we're to talk about in a moment. But I think the discourse has gone way too far, man. It's ridiculous. But
so let's switch the discourse to the other Arizona Cardinals quarterback.
Yes,
Jacoby Brissett. Now, we did a tier list of quarterback options, and I believe there were only of week 1 starters, and there were only 3 A options. Ty Simpson, because for as much as we're scrutinizing Ty Simpson, like, it would make sense that a team with no quarterback drafts a highly regarded prospect in the first round. Like, that would at least.
I'd be excited if he was the week 1 starting quarterback, even if I don't love him at 16. I would still be
super smart. There's clearly a path to him becoming good that you can see. Geno Smith was one of the other 3, and then the third, Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
Now, you thought it was weird standing for Kyler Murray. We're about to stand for Jacoby Brissett.
I'm about to go so hard for Jacoby Brissett right now.
Because
just wait.
There are reports that he can be had for a day 3 pick is kind of the price that Arizona's setting.
It
seems like Arizona wants Jimmy Garoppolo because of the Mike LaFleur connection.
Really quick, Mekhi Becton officially released by the Chargers.
Oh, boy. Is it the Jets' fault, too, that happened? Or
maybe. I think, he was blaming their coaching staff. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, yes.
He was not happy with the Chargers coaching staff.
So you're not happy in 2 of the 3 spots, huh?
Yeah.
Wonder where that was.
The only time he was happy with the coaching staff was the greatest offensive line coach maybe ever, or at least in the league.
Yep, and he won a Super Bowl, too. So
yeah. On Arizona, by the way, it sounds like there's a lot of Malik Willis smoke there, more so than Garoppolo, from what I've seen. We'll see how.
Chu here says too. Will the Cardinals trade Brissett after cutting Murray?
That seems to be the report. It seems so. We'll do the report really quick. There has been multiple reports coming out today in the last couple of days, basically coming out of Indianapolis, coming out of the combine, that the Cardinals are very open to trading Jacoby Brissett. I think they go after Malik Willis, and if they sign Malik Willis, that's $30 million. He's the starting quarterback.
They can pay him more than Miami can.
Yeah, it sounds like the combine rumor is that Malik Willis is going to Arizona. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, but that's the combine rumor. Jacoby Brissett.
I will say Malik Willis and Mike LaFleur does at least sound fun.
Yeah, and he reunites with Hackett. I believe he crossed paths with him in Green Bay for a year, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, God, I can't believe Nathaniel Hackett's an OC again.
OC, offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett in Arizona. He's not calling plays, but still. But the report is that the Cardinals would be open to moving Brissett for a day 3 pick. Now, originally, I believe it was reported as a high day 3 pick, as an early day 3 pick, so like a 4th round pick. Shout out to U Stadium for reporting this. Who knows how true this is, but they're reporting that they're looking for a 5th or a 6th round pick. The Jets have multiple 5th round picks in this year's draft. If you could swing one of those for Jacoby Brissett, and they're probably going to get comp picks, Mike, which those have been.
They said a 4th and a 5th is the projection right now.
Those are going to get added this week, so that's another day.
You can trade those now. So
they're going to have a lot of day 3 picks. they could flip one of those for Jacoby Brissett and get your floor-raising, competent quarterback who, if I'm going to make any comparison for Jets fans, I think Jacoby Brissett can have a 2017 Josh McCown season for the Jets. I see no reason why that can't happen with a good offensive line, with Garrett Wilson. They're going to add another wide receiver probably in the draft. You're going to have Breece Hall back. You're going to have Mason Taylor. That is not a bad offense. I'm not saying Jacoby Brissett is going to light it up and you're winning 12 games next year, but I think you can significantly raise the floor of the offense. Brissett was good in Arizona last year. He's a weird player because he's had years of his career where he's just been outright bad. Like, I thought he was terrible in Miami. He was really bad in New England, but pretty solid in Cleveland. Pretty solid last year with Arizona.
Pretty good in Indy with Frank Reich.
Pretty good. Of course, there's the Frank Reich connection. Like, it makes a lot of sense. And I believe Brissett has spoken about in the past how one of his mentors is Bill Parcells. So it's just, there's so much there.
Is that just how you join the Jets? As you say, oh, Bill Parcells, I love him.
I mean, he's got that's going to be the way to Aaron Glenn's heart. Frank Reich already loves him. It just feels so obvious to me.
He's the only guy that can go to the Patriots, Giants, and Jets and get equal amounts of love.
The only reason that I had been hesitant up until this point was because I didn't know if Arizona would trade him. I just didn't know how, if they're moving on from Kyler, I didn't know if they'd want a clean slate, fresh start. It sounds like they do. It sounds like they are all aboard the Malik Willis train and that they want or are very open to trading Jacoby Brissett. And if all the Jets have to give up is a day 3 pick, Mike.
You do that.
I'm all immediately. Over that. That is my preferred quarterback option for the Jets is Jacoby Brissett. And then you maybe draft someone else. Like I still think their best option is trade for Jacoby Brissett, maybe take a flyer on a Will Levis. Like maybe you can get a Will Levis for a 6th pick or a 6th round pick or like a 5th and a 7th swap. I'm sure his
Brissett would go for higher than Levis with the age.
Probably, yeah. I would assume so, just because Levis is coming off a season-ending injury, and he's on the last year of his rookie deal, I believe, too. Brissett is on a very affordable contract for a guy that you're going to want to start, or at least be competing for that starting job, and probably be the front runner. But I would go Brissett. I would take a swing on a Levis and then draft someone on day 3. That would be my preferred quarterback.
Waller, Taylor Green, I don't know.
That would be my preferred quarterback route. I'd prefer that to Kyler. I'd prefer that to trading a 2nd for Mac Jones. I'd prefer that to Davis Mills, especially Tua Tagovailoa. I think the only other player I would consider in that tier to me is Geno Smith, because I think you can still maybe get Geno for cheap. I think
Geno might be number 1 in my over Brissett.
Brissett is still my preferred, but because I just think Geno's gonna. I don't know. I don't know what his contract's gonna be. I really don't know. You obviously don't have to give him an asset for him, most likely, because I'm pretty sure the Raiders are releasing him at this stage. Yeah. There was talk they might keep him too, which. Maybe as a
honestly, if I was John Spytek, I would have.
It sounds like, again, some of the talk coming out of the combine, I believe it was Jeremy Fowler who reported this, is that NFL teams are higher on Geno Smith than fans are, which that doesn't shock me. I think there's still more.
Always been that way, man.
It has been, and we've been very much in agreement with this. That I think there's still some juice left there with Geno, and I think a lot of his struggles last year were very Raiders dependent and Raiders specific. The offensive line.
Chip Kelly, there was a report he was calling plays that weren't even in the playbook.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And you throw in goofus sons of Pete Carroll coaching the offense.
Yeah. So
what do you want?
Geno,
and no receivers.
Geno is someone I'd be very okay with as well. Obviously, there's the baggage of bringing him back to the Jets, and that's going to be a louder addition than Jacoby Brissett. There'd be a lot of noise around Geno coming back, and the media would love Geno returning to the Jets. Part of that is like kind of why I'm leaning more Brissett. I just think it'd be a safe, high floor, quiet addition that you can get him for cheap, and he's just going to raise the floor of everyone involved, and he knows the system. It seems so perfect to me. And if Arizona's willing to move on, I will happily give them a 5th round pick for Jacoby Brissett.
The biblical name here. It's a long, mouthy name, so I'm just going to shorten it here.
The biblical name.
Jacoby can run a system pretty well. He's a good, solid bridge quarterback. Yes,
absolutely.
Indeed. But Vinicius comes in. I feel like Brissett is the king of having okay stats while losing by 20. Well, he only won 1 game out of 12 last year as a starter.
People are going to say that because of last year. He was competing every week with the Browns. They went, 5-7 with him as a starter?
Well, how many years ago was the Browns is the question.
What was that?
How many years ago was the Browns?
2022 was the Browns. The reason that they were down by 20 every game last year was not, obviously Jacoby Brissett. No one's saying Jacoby Brissett is Josh Allen, right? But they were one of the most injured teams that I've seen in a very long time.
Oh, they got screwed.
Were obliterated. They were starting me and you on defense. That the Jets defense that
the defense started out the year pretty good.
The end of the year.
Then they got hurt, and then
the end of the year, just like the Jets were starting absolutely nobody on defense for the final month of the season. That was the Cardinals. So they were down 20 because their defense was ridiculous and was horrific, right? But Brissett was doing, and their running game was completely obliterated. Michael Carter and Bam Knight were their running backs for 2 months of the year. That was two guys that were cut by the
if they stick around. I can't wait for if the Cardinals play the Titans, and it's just all of the cast-offs play each other. Yeah. So it's like it's LaFleur and Hackett running with Michael Carter against Jermaine Johnson and Saleh and Aaron Wycott and Tony Oden, and
they got Calvin Beachum still in Arizona.
Calvin Beachum still there. All the ghosts of yesteryear, like the ghost of Christmas past. It's just all.
So people wondering why did Jacoby Brissett throw it 60 times? Well, they were trailing by 20 minutes or by 20 points within the first 10 minutes of the game, and they had no running game. That's why Jacoby Brissett was throwing it a bunch. And guess what? He was pretty effective. Now, again, some of that is going to be garbage times. The defenses he's facing, like I don't expect him to throw for 450 yards. Half the games he plays with the Jets. Like it's not going to happen. And I don't expect his numbers to look as good as they did this year because some of that was absolutely just manufactured by the situation. But it's not like it was his fault that they were down by that much. I think Jacoby Brissett is going to get a bad rep because of that. The Cardinals were just uniquely a disaster last year.
So the thing I'm struggling with Brissett here is, especially compared to Geno, I think in the middle of the stream I've decided I would prefer Geno over Brissett.
Okay, I think it's
because valid. if it was just stat padding last year, then I think that might, because again, like Arizona, great, New England, unplayable.
Yeah.
So you're basically flipping a coin on which one you're going to get.
Cleveland, good. Miami, he was terrible with. Like it's
Indy, he was okay. So
he's a weird player. Like he's a very weird player.
I'm willing to lean on Frank Reich because the times where he looked okayest was Indianapolis. Now, a lot's changed since then, schematically and with Brissett as well. But one thing I always remembered about why Bryce Young didn't work in Carolina early on with Reich was his offense can be kind of hard to digest early on.
Yeah.
And then when you throw in, there was other stuff going wrong that made it worse. But that's why I think they're going to go for a veteran week one who can just I got it. Brissett can do that. I think Geno can do that. He's bounced around a little bit. He has familiarity picking up a bunch of different schemes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if some of the younger guys are going to be able to do that. But if they get Brissett and he's 80%, 85% of the passer he was with the Cardinals, I think he may put up similar numbers. Like if you compare head to head, Jets have a better offensive line. Jets have a better running game. Wide receivers are kind of even. Maybe Cardinals. The Jets have the best singular wide receiver.
Yeah.
But Marvin Harrison's still a guy.
Michael Wilson was great last year.
Michael Wilson was great. Obviously, the Cardinals have the better tight end.
I would say they have a better receiving core for sure. Just because Trey McBride,
who's a better offense though right now, Jets or Cardinals?
Maybe the Jets, because how bad is the Cardinals' offensive line? Because they had injuries last year.
Well, Paris Johnson's okay.
What's their projected starters next year?
Outside of Paris Johnson, there's really not a ton to write home about.
I think Froholt's a free agent. Jonah Williams, I think they still have. He's fine. Yeah,
well, he's probably going to be replaced because a lot of mock drafts have him getting like Mauigoa or Fano.
Yeah, they need O-line help. It's not great. It's a tough call. I would lean Jets because of the offensive line, because I think I value that the most. And the Jets have Breece Hall, and the Cardinals have whatever. Well, they're gonna have whatever whatever is left of Trey Benson, and who knows?
Thought he was going to be so good. He just
I assume James Conner is getting cut, right? I assume
he's probably going to get cut.
Cardinals have the better receiving core for sure, but I think I'd lean Jets. It's close. They excel in different ways, or excel in quotation marks.
Let's go and talk some free agency.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is do a little bit of a snake draft where we're each going to list our top 5 guys, or at least top 5 that are available. What's great about this, as we mentioned before, this is no bad ideas. The Jets have, I think, the 4th most cap space in the league, and there's 2 positions, running back and offensive tackle, that I think they're set at. Other than that, you want to pay big money for a cornerback? Sure, why not? A big money linebacker? Yeah, sure, why not? Another receiver, of course.
Let's bring in Reek Wallen.
So many things make sense. So let's go and do our little snake draft here.
Let's do it.
I'll claim first pick here.
I want to preface this by saying mine is going to be mostly more so predictions as opposed to here's my dream. But they're like these are guys I would want as well. This isn't I would not want.
Same sort of thing, but I'm going to go and dream a little bit.
Okay.
with the first one because this is not going to happen.
Sure.
But if any team has the money to pay him and the need for it, I think it might be the Jets. You have to at least make Tyler Linderbaum
I knew it.
say no. You have to at least hear him say no.
Yeah.
Because look, they don't need a center desperately. I think they need one other interior lineman. I don't know if that's bring AVT back. I don't know if that's sign a veteran like a John Simpson adjacent guy who isn't John Simpson. I don't know if that's draft a guy in the first 2 rounds. I'm not sure what it is. Linderbaum would obviously be the creme de la creme of this. I think he probably either goes back to Baltimore or goes to the Giants.
Yeah, I was going to say the Giants are the team that I think he goes there. That'd be
the Giants don't have a ton of cap space though, so they need to make some stuff move around.
Well, they're good. I think they're going to cut. They already cut Bobby Okereke.
Yeah, but I think they have like $1 million or $2 million in cap space. So.
This isn't a guy that's going to be on my list, but I wrote it. I have a whole list of players, and I'm going to have to pick from them. I won't pick this guy, but Bobby Okereke is somebody I think actually could make sense for the Jets because of the Frank Reich connection in Indianapolis. That's another name to keep if they don't go the Anzalone route at linebacker. But go on.
So, unless the Giants slice into an already thin roster even more, I think he goes back to Baltimore. But you have to at least make him say no. He's probably going to be the highest paid center of all time.
He will be.
He will be.
For sure.
But if it would have to stomach it right now, it's the Jets. And can you imagine an offensive line for the next couple of years of Tyler Linderbaum, Aron Membu, and Olufashu, no matter who the guards are? Those 3 alone are going to give you some stability.
It would have to be the CJ Mosley contract. That because the Jets Mosley wanted to go back to Baltimore. He was all ready to go back
Chargers
to Baltimore.
And on Linderbaum too. Good point. Yep. Yeah, Chargers.
The Harbaugh.
They have space too.
The Harbaugh's connection as well. It's the other Harbaugh. But yeah, I think it'd have to be the Mosley contract where the Ravens he was ready to all ready to re-sign with Baltimore, and then the Jets came calling, and McCagnon kept up and up and up in the offer, and then he finally relented and signed with the Jets because he couldn't pass it up. It would have to be that with Linderbaum. But I do think, like you said, Giants, Chargers, maybe going back to Baltimore. I don't think he's going to. I don't think the Jets are going to be in that market, like significant players in that market. But we could dream. Now, if they did that, Mike, what would you be your plan at guard? Because you have Linderbaum at center, Myers the backup center. What would you do at left guard?
1 year rental veteran guy. And then Myers. And
hope you get another John Simpson, or maybe you just bring back John Simpson.
John Simpson, Isaac Seumalo, one of those guys.
I think Seumalo is going to get a decent amount of money.
Even at his age?
I think the guard market's pretty barren this year. I think Seumalo and David Edwards are probably the top 2 guys. And AVT, obviously.
And then there's problems with that.
It's those 3. Honestly, a name again.
Zion Johnson.
I'm gonna just do this, and I'm gonna throw out a bunch of names.
If you want a younger option,
I'm breaking our draft. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna keep throwing out names. A name that I'd keep an eye on at guard is Dalton Reisner. If they
didn't they Bengals just sign him?
Did they just extend him?
I think they did.
Oh, did I miss that? Because he was a free agent. Oh, he did 2 days ago. Missed that. Never mind. Scratch that. I was gonna say because of the Muji connection.
Quality
I didn't realize they just extended him. I knew he was a free agent. I forgot they extended him. Well, never mind. I was going to say because of the Muji connection in Denver, but never mind then. All right, I'll do my first name here. I got to pick one. Should I stick? Nah, I'm not going to stick an offensive line because I want Vera Tucker back. That's what I want. I'm getting the sense that the Jets aren't going to do that. They're going to let both him and Simpson test free agency, and I'm hesitant that they're going to bring back Vera Tucker at this stage. But that would still be my preferred route. I hope they go that route. Let's see. I'll throw out a front 7 guy. You know what? All right. Interesting pull here. Let me just pull up his stats so I have them ready on hand. No pun intended, because let's talk about Deshaun Hand, Mike. I didn't mean to do that, but I realized I was making an unintentional pun before I said his name. I'm sorry. This is someone I haven't really seen Jets fans mention much, but he crossed paths with Aaron Glenn for a year in Detroit. This is somebody who's very experienced as a 3-4 defensive end, which it seems to be that the Jets are moving to more of a 3-4, and they could be looking for some guys who can fill that role. I think Hand makes sense as both a run stuffer and he's someone who can defend the as a pass rusher too. 6'3", 297 pounds. He's a veteran guy, so it's not like they're taking a chance on a younger dude. He spent last year with the Chargers. Also crossed paths in Miami for a couple of years with Brian Duker. So there's a connection there to the new Jets defensive coordinator. There's a connection to Aaron Glenn. There's a guy who fits the scheme and fits what they're looking for. Wouldn't be a splashy signing. I'm sure it'd be like a 1 year, $4 million contract. What did he sign last year with the Chargers? It probably was something very similar to what he's going to get this year. If I can look that up super quick. Last year, 1 year, not even 3 million, up to 3.35 million. I bet you can get him for something like that. I'm going to obviously I don't want to throw out the names we've already said. Like I was going to say Anzalone. I think I would.
That's all but happened already.
Right.
Seems like so many people just making that feel, oh yeah, they're going to get Anzalone. Right. Then we could do other stuff.
I was going to say Al-Qadim Muhammad, but that's another because of the Colts connection, because of the Lions connection. But it's another one we've just talked a lot about. I wanted to mention somebody that I don't think we brought up. I don't think I've seen any Jets fans bring him up either. I just think because of the connections, it makes a lot of sense, and he fits the need of what they're looking for in a 3-4 defensive end.
I got a 3-4 defensive end.
Oh, do you?
That I think could be pretty good.
Hit me with him. What do you got?
Well, it's your turn in the snake draft.
Oh, it's a snake draft. That's right. Shoot. Was not prepared. All right. I'll pick another front seven guy. Right. Let's do another front seven guy.
We're loading up on the front seven.
All right. Now then I'll go offense. I'll go offense.
Pass catcher.
Yeah, let's do a pass catcher. I have 2 names. I'm going to cheat. 3 names. I'm going to cheat, but I'm not going to talk
No, to be definitive.
I don't care. I'm cheating. I don't care. Well, you're
one of them get docked so many points by the ref association.
Whatever, the ref association, the Jeff Press Ref Association.
The kangaroo court I'm setting up here.
That's fine. Let him dock me. I don't care. 3 names. I don't think the Jets are going to be shopping in the Jawan Jennings tier. I know you've mentioned him a lot as a target, and I think he would make sense if they were going after a high-end.
It made a lot of sense if they kept Tanner Engstrand.
True. That as well. I just don't think they're going to go in that direction. I think they're more likely to add a tier 2 or tier 3 wide receiver and then probably draft somebody possibly at 16. So 3 names that I've circled in that tier. One of them, somebody we talked about a lot last offseason, and a guy who when Aaron Glenn was coming to the Jets, it was like, oh, who's going to be Aaron Glenn's guys? This was one of them. Tim Patrick is once again a free agent. And I think Tim Patrick, once again, kind of makes sense for what the Jets are looking for as like a veteran wide receiver 3 or 4 that can, probably a wide receiver 4, that can compete for a depth spot behind Garrett Wilson, insert rookie here, and Adonai Mitchell, competing with the John Mechie's of the world that they're probably going to bring back, and Isaiah Williams and whoever else is there.
Let's play a little mini game with you here, though.
Okay.
When you announce these receivers that you're talking about,
sure,
will they start over Adonai Mitchell? So will Tim Patrick get more snaps than Adonai Mitchell? Because I'm really interested in what his role is going to be.
No, I think Adonai Mitchell's penciled in as wide receiver 3. That would be my guess. And I would say, depending on who they draft and where they draft them, possibly competing for wide receiver 2. I don't think the Jets are going to invest heavily at wide receiver this offseason unless it's at pick 16. I don't think they sign anybody significant. I think the highest investment they'll have is at 16. And that's if one of the.
So you think going into the draft, Adonai Mitchell will be wide receiver 2?
That would be my guess.
Okay.
And I think they sign another wide receiver in free agency. 2 other names that I circled as higher upside options than Patrick would be the least threatening to Mitchell of the guys that I'm about to mention. I think Jalen Naylor makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
as an upside.
One guy, JJ McCarthy, can throw the ball to seem
right. Now, I'm curious if his market might be bigger than I think, because he is young. He's still entering. He's just finished his rookie deal. He just turned 27, but he's an older rookie, but he still just finished his rookie deal. 400 plus yards in each of the last 2 seasons, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're paying for wide receivers in free agency, they usually get more money than you think. So I'm curious as to what he might get. I feel like he's a candidate to get more money than we're expecting. But I think Naylor makes sense of the young upside swing. And then the other young upside swing I have is Jalen Tolbert, who's just another guy who kind of fell out a little bit in Dallas. Could use a change of scenery. I think we mentioned him. I mentioned him as a trade target at the deadline last year, just as a young upside guy who I think can possibly, compete for a depth spot there. Again, probably not going to be someone you want starting. You're less interested in Jalen Tolbert, I could tell.
Well, one of the guys I work with very closely is guy Jerry Trotter, who's been on the show before, runs the Landry Hat show.
Jerry's the man. He's awesome.
Mozzie Smith was his least favorite player on those teams. Luke Schoonmaker is up there right now.
What's wrong with Luke Schoonmaker? What a weird backup tight end.
Picked him high. A lot of other,
Hey, Ferguson's just better. It happens, man.
And Jalen Tolbert is very close to there. A lot of drops, a lot of unfulfilled potential.
For sure.
That's a real build-em-up signing.
You know what that sounds like to me, Mike? Sounds like Adonai Mitchell.
And talent-wise, it's not close. And
I mean, look, Jalen Tolbert had 600 yards and 7 touchdowns in a season. That's not bad for a young player hitting the open market for the first time.
Dak, target volume.
No, I'm aware. I'm aware, but I think because of that, I think he's someone you could take a flyer on. Like I'm not. This is the tier that I expect the Jets to be shopping in. I don't think they're going to be targeting Wan'Dale Robinson or Jawan Jennings or Mike Evans. Like they're not going to be after wide receivers like that. They're going to be looking at the second and third tier guys, and these guys make sense to me.
Veteran Jet fan. If I'm the Jets, I have at least one break the bank player. Linderbaum, Alec Pierce, shoot your shot. Pay way above market.
I think the break the bank player is going to be on defense. That'd be my guess.
Pierce might not be a great fit for this team.
And I don't think I think if you, and we'll talk about this position, I'm sure in a moment. I think the one position I would expect the Jets to pay pretty hefty dollar for is safety. I think safety and linebacker, I think they're going to invest a lot in. I think they invest in a D-line. Really, as far as the offense goes, outside of offensive guard, that'll like left guard will be the one position I think they spend on. Other than that, it's going to be mostly depth.
Especially with the combine being what it is. Dylan Thieneman, I don't think is going to be there at 33.
And
I think there's a chance, but I don't believe Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's going to be there at 33.
See, this is another name. Rashid Shaheed, I think, is above their price tag. I don't think they're going high for a receiver.
I don't think they want like a 20-yard catch, go and get it, vertical bomb.
They have Adonai Mitchell. Why do they need Rashid Shaheed? Why do they need to pay Rashid Shaheed $15 million if they have Adonai Mitchell? That doesn't make sense to me.
If we're talking about connections, this is a Brian Duker one.
Oh, really quick. The other upside swing I could see the Jets take, I'm glad veteran Jets fan pointed this out. I don't think they would sign a top-end wide receiver. I think they'll be interested in trades, potentially. Veteran Jet fan mentioned Pierce or Romeo Dobbs, but then he also said trading for Michael Pittman or Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas, I would be interested in.
I would be interested in Pittman as well. Even the contract, I would still be interested.
Pittman would be more expensive, I think, than
Thomas. He would be, but I think schematically he fits really a lot of what they need. Like, tell me he doesn't complement Garrett Wilson so well.
Oh,
there's obviously the Frank Reich connection. I believe if you get Jacoby Brissett, I believe they crossed. I believe he was there long enough. Like Pittman was in Indianapolis long enough that I think he crossed paths with Jacoby Brissett. So you'd have familiarity there too. I would love that. And I do think the Jets they'd be silly to not be interested in either of those guys. Like they have so much draft capital that those are guys they should be interested in, especially Brian Thomas, who's still on a rookie contract. I know he's coming off the very disappointing season and there's some non-performance stuff that you're probably a little concerned about, but I think if they make any splash at wide receiver that's not in the draft, it's a trade like that.
I think if we're talking about Miami connections on defense, everybody's going to say Minka. I think they should at least consider a trade for that. That'd be a great addition, even if he's not what he was. What I'm looking at is another 3-4 end, a little smaller than a lot of 3-4 ends. But you know what? Why not call Bradley Chubb up?
Yeah.
That'd be the worst idea, especially because he's a guy I don't want. I know Phillips is there right now. I don't want a complete zero pass rush wise.
Well, Chubb would be an edge. Chubb would be a 3-4, a backer. No, an outside linebacker.
Yeah, would he? I mean, he's listed at like in the high 260s, low 270s.
I'm pretty sure he was an outside backer in Denver and Miami. Yeah, he's only been an outside backer.
You telling me you can't put his hand in the dirt with how big he is?
He's never done it. He's only been an outside backer in his career. He's listed at 6'4", 248.
That's not true. That is so not true.
That's what he's listed at. He's played in 3-4s, I believe, his entire career, and he's only been an outside linebacker.
He is in the 260s if he's an inch. And I think if you put him, because even if like you start Arvell Reese and McDonald, like they're gonna need to bring in one more run stuffer guy. Because you can hide Will McDonald, but eventually some teams are gonna find him. And Reese is gonna be good, obviously. If that's who they take, it seems like it's gonna be him after the combine, which by the way, I don't think Ruben Bain's happening anymore.
No, I think we talked about that last week. Yeah, tough combine film for Bain. It's still possible. I can't fully rule him out, but I'd be very surprised if he was in a conversation at 2 at this stage.
But I think that's one run defender, move him around, older guy.
Yeah. Well, I think he makes sense to me as a Jermaine replacement. That's what he makes sense to me as.
Chew with a super chat. Don't the Jets have to spend $50 million? They don't have to spend.
I know. I believe he's referring to. I think this was Tony Pauline reported that, but I think it was, or maybe it was Florio. It was something like to be cap compliant over 3 years, you have to spend a certain amount of money. That's the report he's referring to. Yeah, I imagine that's true. And I also
does that account accruing contracts and trades? It's just you got to allocate a certain amount of money.
I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to matter because I think they will spend over $50 million in free agency. They have plenty of money to spend, and they're going to spend it. They will spend over $50 million this year. You could guarantee. I will guarantee you that they will spend over $50 million this year.
If we're talking about free agent safeties too, because there's a couple that I've seen. Like
this is actually a good year to need a free agent safety.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them. I was looking through the list, and I'm like, dang, there's like 6 guys here that I would be, or like 5 guys I'd be perfectly fine with if they brought him in.
Of all of them, because I've seen Cam Curl, I've seen even Jaquan Brisker.
Yep.
I think one guy that would appeal a lot, and this is a guy that I think I've seen connected to the Jets a little bit, really like Brian Cook.
I think Brian Cook is going to be the top safety in the market. I think he gets the most money of all these safeties. That'd be my prediction.
I think after Anzalone, I think that might be the next Jets signing would be Brian Cook.
Yeah. I would like that a lot. He's a good player.
Byard is the most center fielder, get interceptions guy, but older, slowing down a little bit. Cook doesn't have, I don't even think he had any picks last year, but complete ball hawk center fielder. I like the fact, this is going to sound corny, but because right after Derek Nottie, but I like coming from an organization like Kansas City, won some Super Bowls.
No, absolutely. You need guys like that. You need leaders, guys who are used to winning. You need that.
I mean, Derek Nottie, doesn't matter how much leadership he had. He just sucked.
Derek Nottie was the worst defensive lineman on the Jets training camp roster. So that doesn't count.
And he was supposed to be like the starter.
Yeah.
Which that was unbelievable how quickly he fell. And you know what? We found out about Jawan Briggs and Harrison Phillips because of it. So.
Absolutely.
In a way, good signing, Darren Mucci.
Kind of.
So yeah, those are 2 guys that I think they could target, especially if they don't end up with Minka. I don't think they'll trade Minka Miami, but that seems like a trade deadline move to like a contender. But I mean, if he loves Brian Duker that much, I'm sure Aaron Glenn would love to have Minka Fitzpatrick over Andre Cisco in his safety room. And he's a local guy from North Jersey, so.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I Hawkins, or not Hawkins, I was spoiled who I was about to mention, but
oh boy.
Yeah,
he's from Old Bridge. So
Brian Cook was probably my top safety target as well. I think he's going to be the top safety in the market. I think he ends up getting the most money. But again, I think this is a position the Jets want to spend a lot at. And I think he complements what they have in Malachi Moore very well. I think he's more of that. He also somebody who can play down in the slot, which is kind of what they do, a little bit with Malachi Moore. They tried that last year. It didn't work out great. Really a breakout season last year with Kansas City. I believe 80 plus PFF grade, 80 plus PFF coverage grade. Didn't have any picks, but he had 6 pass breakups.
I just wonder maybe if they'll let him go after McDuffie. Like, I don't think they just completely let their secondary fall apart.
Let's see. They got, they got a lot of guys to spend on. I mean, Leo Chenal's a free agent, and that's somebody that, look, I know we're resigned to the Jets getting Alex Anzalone, but Chenal
doesn't have to be the only linebacker they add.
They would have to trade Sherwood if they brought in 2 guys, but they could.
And I guess if you're taking Reese, the thought is like he could be, if you go 3 linebackers, maybe you could put him in there at a couple of plays. I guess that's part of the appeal with him.
Yeah. No, that's true. Couple other safeties that I think they could be in the market for that I think make a lot of sense. Jalen Hawkins, I know I spoiled that I was going to mention him, broke out last year at the Patriots.
I like taking from the Patriots too. So
fun fact, I interviewed Jalen Hawkins years ago when he was entering the draft on a phone. It was a phone interview. I have his phone number in my phone. Weird way that we did that. Was so many
recruiting press time.
That was 2020. That was so long ago. I didn't know what I was doing with it.
That was what, 28 years ago?
I was like, yeah, we could do it over phone call. And he just gave me his number. And I'm like, all right, cool. He's a cool dude. Really nice guy.
This veteran Jets fan also points out too, El-Kadin Muhammad and Adafi Owe, both Jersey guys.
Yep.
Although Adafi Owe went to Blair, and Blair, I don't care if you got some alum listening, you can go bite one, because Blair Academy.
Go bite one, he said.
Because they had the worst cross-country course. And not only that, sometimes their football players would dive at guys' legs, but also
okay.
They have a golf course on their campus because, you got some money. And their cross-country course was terrible. They make you run on this like choppy, rocky gravel and then make you go up this long, big hill up the top of the golf course. But there's no downhill because you're just getting back to where you were. That's where Adafe is from. So therefore, I can't support him in good consciousness.
My knowledge of Jersey high schools is extremely good.
I cannot contribute. That course. I hated it.
I cannot contribute to that conversation. All I will say is Lindenhurst. Sorry, Jeremy Rucker, but Lindenhurst can go fuck themselves. I won't say go bite one. I'll say what you wanted to say. A couple other safeties that are out there that I think they might be interested in. So Jalen Hawkins, we mentioned. Cameron Curl, there's been a lot of talk about that. Jalen Thompson out of Arizona. Feels like a weird.
Are we just going to take all of the 3 and 14 Cardinals and
Listen, he's going to be one of the top free agent safeties in the market. He's what? Is he 26 only still? He's young.
I think he's the last guy, one of the last guys to get picked in the supplemental draft too. I think they're getting rid of that.
Interesting. I didn't know that. But he's more of a versatile guy. Thompson, he played both strong and free safety for the Cardinals. Really, really good tackler. Like if you want the best tackler in this safety class, probably going to be Jalen Thompson. He's not bad in coverage, but I wouldn't say that's a specialty. And then I'll mention Jaquan Brisker as well from Chicago, who's more of a natural.
Is Jaquan, not Jaquan?
I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll find out.
We'll find out if he signs. Then I'll
the sign and we'll figure it out. But Jaquan,
if not, I don't know.
If not, we don't care. But Jaquan Brisker, more of a natural free safety, coming off a bit of a down year in Chicago, but a good run defender for a free safety. Again, I'm looking a lot at the numbers here. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I've watched Jaquan Brisker.
He's not the kind of safety I think they're looking for after the no pick year.
Brisker?
Yeah, I think he's like move around, hit hard tackle.
Yeah.
I think they want
he had 4.
Thieneman would have been perfect, but he ran so well, he's not going to be there at 33.
Thieneman at 16?
Honestly, wouldn't be awful. I wouldn't hate it at all. So.
It reminds me, and I know you love both of these players. It reminds me a little bit of the Eamon rise, where you were ahead of this last year too, where you were like Eamon before the combine, you were like, yeah, day one guy, and at that point it was like no one was considering him a day one guy. Now Thieneman.
And then he had like the greatest combine until Sonny Styles broke that record.
Yeah. Now Thieneman, I don't want to say a lock for day one, but it certainly feels like he's going day one.
Vikings, I've seen him mock there a lot at 18.
And 16 almost feels like it wouldn't even be that crazy high by the time we get to 8.
Hey, if Lemon's gone,
yeah, maybe. And depending on what they do.
I know people don't like this guy, but as a 3-4 end, I think Keldrick Fall could be appealing. Like if he's gone.
Yeah, I'm just so bleh on Keldrick. He's such a bleh prospect.
That archetype, though, like that's never going to go out of style.
It's not, but
I've seen JFM comps for him.
But you can get players that produce at a similar level for much lower investment is usually my take about guys like that. Like, I mean, you could find guys off the scrap heap that generally can do that at a moderate level as opposed to using the 16th overall pick on a 3-4 run stuff or doesn't offer much against the pass. But that's my
he did the sophomore year last year. He didn't. So it's like TJ Parker. Like, can he get it out of him?
Yeah. But anyway, to wrap up the safety talk, I think they make a splash there. I'll throw out 2 other small safety names that if they want like a third safety, maybe they bring in just because of I'm looking at the Miami connection a lot because Brian Duker was, of course, passing game coordinator, secondary coach at the Dolphins last year. So I'm looking at, there was a lot of guys in that Miami secondary hitting free agency. Now, a lot of them aren't very good.
Non-NFL players, and they look like a real secondary.
Yeah. So. Afatu Melifonwu, the brother of
Lions guy too, yeah.
Lions guy who played in Miami under Brian Duker. 2 connections there is the Aaron Glenn connection, the Brian Duker connection. I think Afatu Melifonwu is someone to keep an eye on. And then Mike, I'll mention Ashton Davis. All right.
Why not? You can do worse for backup safeties.
The Jets need playmakers, dude. They need playmakers. I'm sure Chris Banjo
only makes 1 play a game, but a lot of plays didn't make any. So
I'm sure Chris Banjo would love Ashton Davis in his special teams unit. I'm sure the Jets would love a playmaker like Ashton Davis. And he crossed paths with Brian Duker literally last year. Brian Duker coached him. Why not bring back Ashton Davis? He's a free agent, and he actually played a good amount for Miami last year. He was playing a good amount of snaps for them. So both of those names I'll give shouts to.
I'm looking around too. Like I know we're resigned to Anzalone.
Yeah.
But non-Anzalone tier, like I don't want to say it pisses me off because I think he's a really good player. I think he obviously is like one of Aaron Glenn's guys. I think he comes from. I don't think he's going to be like a take a lot of bullshit, mope around guy, which they need more guys like that. He's also my younger brother's favorite player. So
there you go. That's right.
There you go.
I've had the privilege of speaking to Anzalone multiple times. Wonderful dude. Awesome guy.
But man, Leo Chenal would have just been.
He's exactly what they need.
Oh, he's exactly what they need.
He is so much what they need. That big run stuffing linebacker. Like he's kind of a throwback in some ways at the linebacker position. He's awesome. He's great. But
I feel like he is like the people who want Arvell Reese to play inside linebacker. I feel like that's a comp.
Maybe
because he also will line up on the edge.
He's so strong. He's very strong.
Glenn loves Amik Robertson.
Couple of from Better Jeff. I want to get to some of these. He said Cater Kohu's not a bad player. Absolutely. Like if they want to add a nickel corner, Cater Kohu, Amik Robertson, both make sense.
Nickel corner is one I might not want to spend a ton on.
Well, they wouldn't need to spend a ton on either of those guys. I doubt it. I would say, Cater Kohu coming off of season-ending injury. He was fine in Miami. He was solid, but I don't know what his market's going to be. And Amik Robertson's probably just a 1 year $3 million contract, something like that.
But before we sign off here on the Jet Press podcast, I wouldn't love to spend a ton on cornerbacks. I think right now 44, that's like a prime spot for a nickel corner. Like Keith Abney, D'Angelo Pons, Keontae Scott, guys like that. Sure. That's where I think you could save a little money.
Pons feels like a Glenn guy. He feels like a Glenn guy.
Okay, literally, the scouting report is Aaron Glenn's scouting report at A.
Yeah, it really is.
So thank you for tuning into the Jet Press podcast. I got to get out of here a little bit earlier, but thanks for being here with us today. Justin, feel free.
Yep. I would say keep an eye next week because I know we stream on Wednesday, but I think we might have some emergency streams, Mike, depending on what our bandwidth is, depending on what we can handle, because we obviously got a lot of responsibilities during free agency week. But I think we're going to be, especially when they make a quarterback move, whenever they go that route, I think we're going to be hopping on here. We're probably streaming multiple times next week. So just keep an eye on, I would say keep an eye on the Jet Press Twitter, keep an eye on our socials, and just, also subscribe, hit that bell, whatever. You can get notifications when we're going live. You can find out that way too. But anyway, Mike, until next time, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMikeLuciano. Follow me on Twitter, Justin D. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. Thank you again to MF Chu, who donated 5 memberships. You are the man. He also donated the $2 super chat. You are awesome. You guys know what to do. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And again, next week, we will likely be streaming live probably before Wednesday, if I'm guessing right now. We'll be streaming multiple times, I'm assuming, next week. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano. We'll see you guys next time.
Prepare for chaos.
Let's do it.